Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to everybody's favorite show about plastic surgery, health, and beauty. This is Nip Talk. On today's episode, first off, jaw surgery in men surging in Washington, D.C. We're going to talk about that. And then, what if your spouse hates the plastic surgery that you got? What do you do? And then finally, medicinal mushrooms, real or hype? We're going to talk about it, and it's all coming up right now.
Live from Lincoln Center in the heart of the Dallas Metroplex, this is Nip Talk. An honest and uncensored show about plastic surgery, health, beauty, and lifestyle. With your host, plastic surgeon Dr. Bruce Hermann, and your co-host, entrepreneur and social media influencer Sarah Bennett. Now it's time to discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of the topics everyone is talking about. It's time for Nip Talk.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please hit that like and subscribe button. It helps us so much. I'm your host, plastic surgeon Dr. Bruce Hermann. With me is Sarah, as always.
Hi.
That was very energetic, Sarah. I like that. You're like eager, excited about today's episode. Trey, how you doing, buddy?
I am good.
Good?
I am good. Good to see y'all.
Nice.
Happy Friday.
Does that skin feel good, Trey, with that?
It does. It feels
I
very
feel
smooth.
I've gotten into the routine now of using it, so I feel better about it.
Yeah.
I missed a couple days early on, but now I'm like in the routine.
Yeah. It feels very smooth.
Yeah.
And also have a helper in the studio with me today too.
I see that. You got some help back there. The interns are getting younger and younger, aren't they?
It's the free work.
That's right. Yeah, put them to work back there, man.
Yes, indeed.
Looks cute.
All right. Well, let's jump into some segments. So, remember Mar-a-Lago face? We talked about that. Didn't we talk about Mar-a-Lago face, or did I just see it in the news? Mar-a-Lago face. All right. Well,
I don't remember that. Do
I
you
don't think
remember?
so.
we didn't? I can't believe we didn't do a
so.
segment on it. So Mar-a-Lago face was basically this perception of the political people that were coming through Mar-a-Lago, the people that were close to Trump. And they had the look of like puffy cheeks and big lips, and they were had all this work done. So I found it interesting that like now the political spectrum is basically getting these plastic surgery, stereotypes. And there's a new one out now. And this is about jaw surgery surging in Washington men. And, I've seen a couple articles about certain political figures, getting work done, and specifically like jaw work. They were pretty small, like it wasn't like a big thing. It's like, I probably won't do a segment on it. But there was some about like Trump's sons, like Eric, and what's the other one, Don Jr., and then also Elon Musk, that he had work done to his jaw. Did you see any of those?
No.
They were pretty.
The only politician I remember that like had some kind of work was that guy that was
Matt
just like
Gaetz. Yeah, Matt
like
Gaetz.
all of a sudden it was like, where are your eyes? Like he just like looked
He
like
did look. Well, he had
looked
like
he got punched in the face.
Yeah, he had
Swollen.
like a very aggressive Botox session, I think. 'Cause remember, he had those like arched eyebrows, kind of like the Joker.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, anyway, now there's actually articles coming out about this surge in men in Washington, D.C. Trey, I think I put the article up there, didn't I? If anybody wants to look at it, it should be the next slide. Trey? Oh, there he is. Hey, there we go. So this was out of Politico magazine, plastic surgery procedure booming among Washington men. And so I kind of dug into this article and then did some of my own research. And, there was this aesthetic surgeon in Washington, D.C. saying that in the past year, their male clients who came in asking for jaw surgery surged from 20% to 50%, meaning, a year ago, 1 in 5 men who came into practice was looking for jaw work, and now it's half, which that's pretty big.
I could see why. Like a strong jawline.
Totally.
It's like assertive, you think.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
that kinda
and
thing.
even in politics, it's been discussed. I remember back in 2012, remember Rick Perry, the Texas governor, was running or trying to get the presidential nomination. I remember that someone mentioned, oh, he's got that great, square jaw, and people were talking about that. And what you said is totally true, about giving that air of confidence. Strong chin and jaw is associated with authority, trustworthiness, leadership, and honesty. And someone actually did a study looking at the male CEOs of the Fortune 500 companies. And of the male CEO of Fortune 500 companies, 90% had strong jawlines and chins, versus the general public, it's only like 40%. So it's kind of interesting that, these people that are considered high power, tend to have that. So I definitely think that, there's some truth about it. And jaw work is not really that popular comparatively to other plastic surgeries. It makes up about a little less than 1%. Obviously females dominate plastic surgery. It's like 90%, 10%. And so, every year the percentage of males getting plastic surgery or procedures goes up a little bit, but it's still like 9-1, female. But yeah, chin implants or jaw implants make up a little bit less than 1%. But interestingly, from 2022 to 2023, which is kind of the last we have like a good data set on this, the number of chin implants in men went up by 26%. So it is kind of a surging thing. And outside of the look of it, the other thing about having a nice chin and jaw is it also affects your neck. We have people that come in from time to time that have complaints about their neck, and the real issue, or one of the major issues, is that if the jaw is recessed, and I have this a little bit. This is the one. If I was ever going to think about getting plastic surgery, I'm probably not going to do it because I'm just don't care that much. But like this would be the one thing I might consider. Because it affects my neck too. Like if I gain any weight, my neck looks like fat, and it's because like my jaw doesn't stick out quite far enough, and so I don't get that really nice, clean neckline angle. And so there's that other aspect of it that it also not only just the look of the jaw being pleasing, but also how it affects your neckline. And so I can again totally see how people might consider going about changing, and especially in Washington, D.C., right, where everybody wants to have that look of authority. Yeah. And even Trump talks about, oh, so-and-so's got, such like a, nice, clean, strong, face. He says,
he says weird stuff like that.
He says weird stuff all the time, granted, but he has mentioned that a couple times about how someone's appearance, he's like, oh, I like, the way they look.
They've got good hair. We trust them.
Yeah, right.
Like weird
best
stuff.
hair. Ask anyone.
Yeah.
It's the best. Which is kind of funny because Trump himself, I wouldn't necessarily say that he currently or ever, maybe when he was
like
really
super attractive.
Yeah, right. I mean, not that he's like a bad-looking dude at all, but like I wouldn't say he has like a super strong.
Maybe back in the day he was like a handsome fella.
Yeah, back in the day, but yeah. Anyway, so it's just kind of funny how people are, it's almost as if Washington, D.C., at least some people are like, oh, well, I want to, have this good appearance for Trump or whatever, but then Trump himself is...
Well, Melania's pretty enough for both of them.
That's right, Melania. All right, so what can be done, right? So say you're like me, and I'm like, okay, I want to go out and get some I want to make my jaw look better, get that really nice movie star jaw. So there's basically three things out there that people are doing. The first one is fillers.
Yeah.
So you can just take like the normal fillers and put it along the jawline to give a little bit of an accent. I personally wouldn't go that route. Of course, fillers are temporary, so if you like it, you're having to redo it like every year and a half or whatever. But the problem mostly is that in order to make a notable difference, you'd have to use a lot of filler.
Right.
I was looking up some web pages of people that offered filler for jawlines, and they were saying, yeah, it's usually 3 or 4 syringes. Okay, well, each syringe is around $600. So, you're talking like fillers are expensive. Like they're not cheap.
How much is so like if they're doing like 3 syringes, you said, or 4, then how much is it more to do a surgery? Right,
great point. So you're spending like, $1,800 to $2,400 for a round of fillers, and the surgeries for to do like a permanent implant's like 4 to 8. Okay. So if you like the fillers, within about 2 to max 3 years, you've already spent as much as you would spend for, a surgery. Yeah. So I personally wouldn't go the filler route. I guess if somebody was really against surgery and they want to try it, it's not, dangerous or anything. The other 2 options are surgery. The first one was kind of the one that's been around forever, which is called a sliding genioplasty. So basically, they actually cut the bone of the chin and slide it forward, and then they
put implants there.
Well, they put little, I'm blanking, like a plate to hold it. They're basically cutting the chin bone and moving it forward and then actually using a plate to hold it. I wouldn't do that. That's like a very morbid surgery. I mean, you're talking about cutting your mandible, like there's risk of nerve injuries and the healing of the bone and all that. I'd be out on that. But
yeah, sounds pretty gruesome.
Yeah, it's a pretty big surgery. I did some for reconstruction when I was doing like craniofacial reconstruction and training. Yeah, they're pretty morbid, not something that I would do for aesthetics. But the one that actually I think is a reasonable option is the silicone jaw implants. And hey, Trey, you got that picture of the implants on there? It's like looks like 4 little silicone things. Yeah, there you go. So that's an example of what they look
It
like.
looks like a little retainer.
Kind of, yeah. So they're solid silicone. It basically goes right on the edge of the mandible or the jawbone, and it just basically simulates like you have extra bone there.
How does it attach?
Great question. So the way these surgeries are done is they either do an incision inside the bottom of the mouth, which is the way I would do these if I was going to do one, which I don't do these. I kind of got away from doing the more, unusual type craniofacial stuff. I still do the bread and butter stuff. I quit doing stuff like this. But basically, the way I would do is make a little incision on the inside of the mouth, and you clear off the tissue over the bone. You slide that thing into place, and you put like 1 or 2 screws to hold it so it doesn't slide, and then close it up. I mean, it's in theory a very simple.
Can you get like can you get him to make implants like right here?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there's so those you'd have to do like back in the jaw, like in the
because that's the
like the square anvil jaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I was gonna do it, I just would probably add just like a little bit of length because I don't feel my jawline's terrible, but like it's not like great either.
Yeah.
So if I was gonna do one, I would just probably do the front. I don't feel like I need to have that anvil jaw. That's just not kind of me,
Yeah. You wouldn't look like you anymore.
Right,
much.
it would change. Yeah, it would change the way you looked. But yeah, the surgeries are fairly simple. Not super invasive. Most of the incisions could be done inside the mouth, so you're not. Sometimes people will do them underneath the chin, which is fine because if you do an incision under the chin, it's usually pretty well hidden. They're outpatient surgeries, pretty easy recovery. As we said, the cost is like $4,000 to $8,000. Risk of these surgeries pretty small. I mean, there's always a risk of an implant getting infected, but it's no different than like a breast implant, which we do literally all the time.
Seems way more simple than a breast implant.
Yeah, it is. It's less invasive for sure. I mean, there is risk of them shifting, which is why if I was going to do one, I would put a screw in it. I think not everybody puts a screw in it, but if I was going to do one, I'd put a screw in it. And then there's always a risk of some numbness because you're making cuts in there around the jaw.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get some pictures. I personally don't have any pictures of this because I don't do this, but there is a surgeon here in Dallas, John Burns. I don't know if I've met him. I've heard his name before, but his webpage advertised this, so we'll give John Burns some free advertising here. He's a pretty well-respected plastic surgeon, so I would go see him if I was going to do something, and this guy's pretty legit. So throw this up, Trey. So yeah, you can see it's, I wouldn't say it completely changes how they look. They still look like the same person, but they just have that little bit better jawline. And I think the one on the left is really nice. I mean, to me, the bottom looks, very, very normal, very strong. The right one, I think, was just like a more advanced case of like retrognathia, meaning that the mandible is really recessed. And so probably even using a big implant, it didn't like make it perfect, but it looks a lot better.
Yeah, because his ones was like going like.
Yeah, that's like really, really recessed.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I can totally see why people do this. I mean, especially in a world of like Washington, D.C., where, looks really do. I mean, I guess it's kind of like Hollywood, right? Where your looks make it different of
You're
how.
in the public eye a lot.
Yeah, I mean, how people perceive you. So, I mean, yeah, I think if people want to do this, yeah, go for it. Am I going to do it? Probably not. I've just got too much crap going on to worry about going to get surgery.
Yeah.
So, but if I was going to do a surgery, that'd probably be the one that I would do personally. So, all right, let's recap this one, Trey. You ready? So today we were talking about the surge in Washington, D.C. men in getting jaw surgery or jaw implants. And one surgeon there in the D.C. area said that of their male patients in 1 year, the percentage asking for jaw surgery or jaw remodeling went from 20% to 50%, which is a big jump. Also, the data on how many of these procedures being done does correlate with that. There has been a notable jump in people seeking things like jaw implants. Well, why is that? Well, it's well known that a strong chin and a strong jawline are seen by other people as signs of being strong leaders, trustworthy, loyal. And so in the world of Washington, D.C., which could be also similar to Hollywood, where looks are important, you're seeing more men go after that look that gives that air of strength. So how can you change the jawline? Well, one way is to do fillers. I personally wouldn't do this. It takes a lot of filler to change the jawline. It's only temporary, and the cost would start to be quite expensive after a few years. There are surgeries where they actually remodel the entire bone by cutting it and shifting forward. It's called a shifting genioplasty. I probably wouldn't go that route. That's a very, very morbid surgery that I wouldn't personally do for aesthetics. But these silicone jaw implants are a very reasonable way to get that strong chin and strong jawline. If you wanted to do that, it's done by making little incisions inside the mouth. Outpatient surgery, pretty easy recovery, cost you about $4,000 to $8,000. So yeah, and I've even said in the past, if I was ever to get plastic surgery, that might be something I would consider. But am I going to do it? Probably not. But yeah, if you want to see the full segment, look it up. Cool.
Yeah, chins.
Yeah, strong chin. All right, let's go. All right, here's one we're going to have. There's philosophical discussion in this one. I know you're busy in there, but you may have to chime in at least once. I know you got your hands full, buddy, with your intern in there. All right, so it's funny how social media posts now become news. Have you noticed that? Where like someone will post about something on social media and suddenly it's picked up by magazines as like people are talking about this.
Yeah.
Well, this is another one of those examples. So this is a segment about what happens when your spouse hates the plastic surgery that you got.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know.
Is this a real person?
I think so, yeah. I think so. You never know these days in the age of AI.
She got that like fake.
Did you think the first picture
things.
I had was real or AI?
That dude?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's AI.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was AI. Yeah. But no, I think this one's real. I got this one off the internet. Okay, so this actually comes from a Reddit post, which I've said in the past, I hate Reddit. Of all social media platforms, I hate it the most.
When you put questions into Google, though, like sometimes the third link is like Reddit.
I know, it pops up. I used to be on Reddit a lot back when I was kind of a known gamer, and I just hate the whole culture. It's like so toxic. So I really don't like Reddit, but
me either.
Huh?
I said me either.
I know. Anti-Reddit. Trey, do you like Reddit? Just nod, yes or no. You like Reddit?
I'm not a big fan. I use it sometimes. But
I use it sometimes too. It's like sometimes you have to use it to get certain information, and it's just anyway. Okay, so there was this post that's gone super viral on the internet. I've seen it now multiple times. First I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, but then I kept seeing it. I was like, all right, we'll do a segment on this. So throw the post up and leave it up for a minute, Trey, because I'm going to kind of talk about it. So this is from the Reddit subreddit called AITA, Am I the Asshole, where people will write some scenario that happened to them, and then they ask if like they're the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
And so
that's actually what I use it for.
Oh, is that what you?
Yeah, for like subjects for my other show.
Oh, do you? Okay, so Trey, hey, great minds think alike, Trey, right? All right.
I've never used it for that.
So the summary of this is this guy writes in saying his wife wanted to get plastic surgery. He was totally against it. She's like, I'm going to do this anyway. Apparently got some liposuction of the face, which I don't know if that means buccal fat removal or what, because lipo of the face is not common. She got a neck lift. She got a bunch of fillers. So she comes out of the surgery, and this guy does not like the way that she looks. Mm-hmm. He's like, Do
we get pictures?
No, there's no picture.
Dang.
Yeah, that would be cool if there were pictures. So, and he even said that he got the uncanny valley vibes. Have you heard of the uncanny valley? It's like basically this like phenomenon where if somebody looks a little bit off, it makes someone else think they look a little bit revolting. It was used initially for when they were trying to make robots look like people, or even AI look human before it got really good, and it looked. Remember, like the
creepy.
eye, or like the six. So that's kind of uncanny valley, where it looks like a little bit off, and it kind of creeps you out.
Yeah.
So
okay. I got that.
So he didn't want to tell her, right? So he didn't want to tell his wife that basically he's just not attracted to the way she looks. But also she knew something was going on because, she would be like, oh, want to be intimate or whatever. And he's just like, man, I need to turn off the lights. Like literally just said that. And so she eventually she eventually confronts the guy and it's like, are you having an affair? Like what's going on? And so at that point he has to say, look, I don't know how to tell you this. I still love you, but I am just not attracted to the way you look. Well, of course, that went over like a lead balloon.
Yeah,
and
I
then,
don't like your face.
and yeah, right. I don't like the way your face looks. So then there's like this big throwdown, and she like moves out, and I don't know if they're going to get a divorce. And at the very end, he said she looks like the alien from Fifth Element. Yeah,
What's the alien from Fifth Element look like?
She's like blue, and she looks like an alien, kind of like Madonna if she was blue.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. So is this a common occurrence? Does this happen where someone goes and gets plastic surgery and then their spouse really doesn't like it, or it causes some friction? And so, like anecdotally, meaning me talking to patients over the years, when I've had patients come in for revision work, meaning they went and got work done somewhere else, and something either went wrong or they didn't like it, I've had people mention, oh yeah, my spouse won't look at me the same way, So, I mean, I know that's just an example of me in my own practice, but yeah, my experience does correlate with this. And so, me being the nerdy research guy that I am, I tried to pull up some research papers on this to see, is there any data out there about how many spouses don't like what their significant other looks like after they get plastic surgery.
Imagine there's a lot, but I feel like
there's really not. Like there's a lot of data on the person liking it. Like if you go have plastic surgery, do you like it? But there's not a lot of data about if you go have plastic surgery, does your spouse like it? I found one article that kind of touched upon it when it was looking at some other things, and it stated that the rate of spouses not liking the look of their significant other after plastic surgery to be as high as 25%. Which that's pretty high. And that was a small study, so I'm not going to say that that's the actual real number. But it does show, based on that Reddit post and my personal experience and this one research article, that this is a thing that is a possibility, and really nobody ever talks about it. So we got.
I feel like it's a personal decision, for yourself. But then at the same time, if you've been married for a long time, and it's like, I feel like that's definitely a decision you should make together.
Perfect, Sarah. That's exactly
on your face.
That's the first thing that I was going to actually talk about. You're absolutely right. So, in the little Reddit post, it said that she said she wanted to get surgery and he was against it. He's like, don't do this. But she did it anyway, and so it's a tough situation, right? Because I mean, I think that people should be able to do, what they want, but when you are married, there are repercussions for doing things that your spouse may not agree with.
She shouldn't have been. Hopefully, she's not surprised by his reaction to all of it.
I think she is surprised based on how the thing played out. Like she, I think she was a little, taken aback.
But I mean, she shouldn't be surprised though.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think this is really like a controversial one because I do agree, like something major like changing your appearance probably.
It's like if you came home with like the most like the same jawline as Zac Efron right now.
Right, yeah.
And your wife would be like, who do you think you are, dude?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, what is this?
I'll have to ask my wife what she would say about that. But yeah, I think this is a tough one because, again, I think people should be able to do what they want, but in a marriage, when you do stuff, it affects your partner,
Did
right?
you ever hear of that story? It was like this Indian family. They're from India or something, and they're very rich. Like this guy was really, really rich. And the woman he married had all of this work done before they met. And all
then the
of
kids,
their children were not cute.
Right, I did hear about that.
I
don't know if that's like a
off, man.
What do they call it, urban myth, or if that really happened.
I just remember seeing that story and like the picture of this like they looked like they were just like this royal Indian
Ken and Barbie,
family.
And then the kids come out and they look,
all wonky.
Not so much,
Yeah, and he got so mad.
I have heard of that. Yeah, I did hear about that. I'm actually going to look that up because I've heard that not more than once. Okay, so yeah, that's a tough one. I do think that spouses. As a plastic surgeon, if I had a couple come in and the wife's like, I want to do this, and the guy's like, I think this is a bad idea. I mean, I would absolutely like pause and be like,
or
okay,
like reach a compromise.
I'd be like, you guys really need to sort this out because the last thing I want is for someone to go through surgery and then it creates hardship for them, like say in a relationship.
After you get a surgery, you're supposed to feel good about yourself.
Right, exactly. So if I got that vibe that like the husband and the wife were totally on opposite, ends of this, I would at least pause and be like, hey, I think you guys should talk about this, before you move forward. Okay, attraction versus love. This is kind of a side note. He said he still loves her, but he's just not attracted to her. That's not an uncommon theme in marriages, though. How many times do people that have been married a long time change and then suddenly one
you see them like a roommate or something more so than
or just as people get older, maybe they gain weight or whatever, and suddenly they're not as attracted to them as they were. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
I think that that yes, it can be stressful to a marriage, and so I can totally see that. But it's not something that's crazy. It's not specific to plastic surgery, right? It's not only when people get plastic surgery, suddenly they think that they're not attracted to their spouse. And that literally happens all the time.
Yeah.
Obviously, do your best to avoid it if you can. Communication breakdown. So he avoided telling her the truth. That's another one. What would you do? Say your significant other goes out and gets some surgery done and you hate it. Do you tell him?
I don't know.
I don't know either, right? I don't know. What's the right thing? That's a tough one.
This is a funny story. I went shopping with Cody, and he was picking something out. And he's like, "What do you think?" I said, "That's something to buy."
That's something to buy.
That's a way to wear that.
Something like that, I'm actually pretty honest with.
You can't say it.
I think my wife sometimes gets annoyed at my honesty because she'll show me something. I'm like, yeah, I hate it. This is terrible. Don't ever wear that again. Or I'll give her grief about it. But I don't know, at least I'm honest about it. But I guess when it's your appearance, your physical appearance, that's a harder one to kind of juggle.
It's very hard.
Right? Yeah, that's about all I had to say about that. I thought there was one more. I thought there was another segment, but that's it.
One more banger.
But yeah, it's a tough situation, and I don't think a lot of people talk about this. And I just think that it needs to be on the radar of people that are considering plastic surgery. I think it's important that, if you are married, that your spouse is supporting you. And if your spouse is saying, absolutely don't do this, then I think you should take note. And you should probably hash that out before you go and get plastic surgery.
I can see both sides. I
can too.
He married somebody who looked a certain way.
Right.
And then now...
Right.
She's changed what she looks like, and to him, it's creepy looking.
Yeah, I can see it, and it's just a very gray situation because, again, you want people to be able to do what they want with their lives.
It doesn't even sound. It just sounds like he's creeped out by her. Not
he's
so
kind
much
of freaked out. Yeah, he's not. It's not just he's not attracted. He's repulsed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's bad stuff. All right, Trey, I'm going to recap this one. So today we were talking about one of the unspoken risks of plastic surgery, something nobody talks about, and it is, what if you have plastic surgery and your spouse or your significant other hates it and they no longer find you attractive? Oddly enough, this does happen from time to time, and no one really thinks about this. It actually came from all places, the bottom of the internet, Reddit, a Reddit post about some person that was asking if they were the asshole because they were no longer attracted to their spouse that had a bunch of plastic surgery. And we were discussing that this is a very gray area because obviously we think that people should be able to do what they want with their own bodies, but when you're in a marriage, it's kind of a partnership, and changing your whole appearance is kind of a big deal. And it seems like in this one particular instance of this poor person on Reddit, that it went very badly. And so I looked into the data on this. There's not a whole lot of research on what happens or how often does a spouse not like someone's plastic surgery. One research paper said it could be as high as 25%. Wasn't a great paper, so I don't know if I think that's really the true number. In my own practice, I have seen it when people come in for vision work where someone tells me that their spouse just really didn't find them attractive after they had some work done. So again, this is something no one really talks about. It's the unspoken risk of plastic surgery. My only kind of thought on this is if you are going to have plastic surgery and you're married or have a significant other, it's a really, really good idea if you guys are on the same page. And if they have really big, concerns about you doing it, then you probably need to hash that out before you have surgery. So, good one, man. I feel like that was a good recap. It may have been my.
That was a Public service announcement.
That was a good public service announcement. I got another public service announcement coming
goody.
for you. I know you love these. And this is something you know about too, which it's funny how I do these and it's like, oh yeah, I know about that. And I'm like, I didn't even know this existed. So I like doing the show because I learn about new things. And I didn't realize that medicinal mushroom supplements were such a big thing.
Yeah.
In fact, when I saw this article, I kind of assumed they were talking about magic mushroom, like psilocybin microdosing or something.
sure.
Because you hear about like the ketamine microdosing and, you know, medical marijuana and all that. It's like, oh, people are taking magic mushrooms for medical purposes. Cool. But this is about medicinal, not psilocybin, not magic mushrooms, but medicinal mushrooms. Is it real or is it hype? And I'm going to tell you all about it. So, as you probably know, mushrooms have been used in medicine for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. Ancient Chinese medicine, they love mushrooms. They're all about them. They talk about them all the time. And there's believed to be a lot of important health benefits that come from the various types of mushrooms because it has a lot of pharmacological actions when you look at like what's actually in them. They have anti-allergic, antibacterial, antifungal, anti-inflammatory, antioxidative, antiviral, antidepressive, anti-hyperlipidemic, and anti-diabetic properties. Also, they're protective of the liver, the brain, the kidneys, and the bones. And also they have anti-tumor properties. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot. That's a lot to go over. Specifically, which mushrooms are people taking? I had no idea. I'm not sure I could name. Well, actually, you know, the only reason this is gonna make me sound like a total nerd, but I'm a nerd, so I'm cool with it. The only reason I know about different mushroom varieties is because I played this one video game where you have to pick like mushrooms and actually list the species.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that's how I know about like fly Antimantia and blue cap. Because like you go and you collect them.
What game was it?
It's like the Elder Scrolls, like Skyrim and Oblivion. Yeah.
I don't know.
Total nerd stuff. All right, so let's get back to the specific mushrooms and which ones people are taking to potentially help their health. So reishi is one which is thought to help with immunity, sleep, anxiety, and inflammation. Lion's mane, at least mushrooms
I know that one.
You do know that one. Okay, lion's mane is good for cognitive ability, memory, and nerves. Mm-hmm. Chaga, don't know that one. Antioxidant and anti-inflammatory, also good for skin and gut. Cordyceps. Now, I'm going to sidetrack myself. Isn't cordyceps that one fungus that causes the bugs to become zombies? Remember we talked about cordyceps?
Yes, I remember that, but I don't.
I'm pretty sure it was cordyceps, and I'm pretty sure they also talk about cordyceps in that TV show, The Last of Us.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure I would eat the like zombie creating mushrooms, but cordyceps,
fun guy.
Fun guy, yeah. Cordyceps is known to help with energy, endurance, libido, and oxygen uptake. Turkey tail.
And zombies.
And zombies, right. Turkey tail, immune function and anti-cancer properties. Maitake, blood sugar and immune. Shiitake, I know that one.
Yes.
I cook shiitake. That's good for heart health, immunity, and antiviral. So how do mushrooms work, right? Like what's in them that actually is causing these good things to happen? So they have beta-glucans, which I've heard of those. They actually stimulate immune cells. So that's like your macrophages, your NK cells, and your T helper cells. So that's good for like fighting either tumor or infection. Mm-hmm. Triterpenes, which are good for anti-inflammation and stress, like stress cortisol.
Okay.
Antioxidant properties, which we all know that oxidative damage is bad for our bodies. Neurogenic compounds, so things that help like your brain and your nerve growth factors. Okay, so how do you take these? Well, they have, just like when we were talking about the poo pills, they have all different ways you can take these. There's capsules, tinctures, powders, all kinds of ways that you can take these.
So I've taken them before.
Okay, so tell me all about it. Which ones do you take specifically?
I don't take them anymore.
Okay.
I used to.
Okay. Were you taking them for a
tinctures.
specific reason?
I honestly don't know what was in them.
One day you
or
woke
what
up and you were taking some
It
mushrooms.
wasn't me. It was me and my friend Catherine, and she came to stay with me for like 3 months, and so every morning we would make this little shot glass of mushroom tinctures, and she had like this like assortment, and every morning she would put the
So you were just
mushroom
taking them
tinctures.
for overall health, not something specific.
Yeah, it was. I'm sure a lot of it was like anti-inflammatory, anti-anxiety.
Did you
kind of
notice any
situation.
difference?
No.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was happy, but I don't know.
You felt like you were doing something?
Yeah, it was like
there you go.
nice. It tasted like straight up dirt because that's what it was brown. But
Like
I mean,
straight up dirt.
but it was good. And then also my dogs have been taking mushroom powder. Like you put the mushroom powder over your dog's
Did your
food.
veterinarian prescribe that?
No, it's like,
Okay.
it's FDA approved, but it's
Sure.
like, I bought it
Yeah.
over a website because my little blue heeler, he has like a tumor on his back. And
Okay.
he's very, very, very old and he can't have surgery anymore.
So he's taking, let's see, which one was the anti-cancer one? It was turkey tail.
Maybe it's in there. I don't know.
Could be turkey tail.
Yeah, and so apparently it's supposed to like help with like fatty masses that dogs
Right.
get as they get older, and
Yeah.
cancer is causing things. But he's already
Has it helped?
It's already cancer, so I think it's more preventative, not treatment.
Gotcha. Well, as always, I did do the research on this to see, do these mushroom supplements actually do anything? So I had an idea of how this was going to go, and I was exactly right, because this is kind of how all these supplements go. There's no clear research. Well, there's none in like humans that's really good.
Okay.
What they do is they test it in animal models and they test it in test tubes. So
Okay.
in vitro versus in vivo, right? But the vivo is animal studies. So in the animal studies and in the test tube studies, these compounds that are in mushrooms have been shown to be helpful.
Yeah, so theoretically they're supposed
Right,
to
and
be
that's
helpful.
how a lot of these supplements, when they say, oh, the research shows that this does this and that, yes, there is research out there, but there are no big studies where a human being actually took these things, and then there was another group of human beings that had the same issue and didn't take them, and the one group that took them had a much better outcome.
Right.
Like big studies like that don't exist. There was one study specifically looking at the anti-cancer properties of the mushrooms that had some pretty good data, but then there were other studies that showed it made no difference. So the data conflicted. And really the number of human studies out there is very, very, very small. So what can you say about the research on medicinal mushrooms? Well, like almost all supplements, it's like it's theoretically helpful, but there's not any solid data to show that it makes a notable difference.
Yeah.
Or the data conflicts. Maybe one study shows it's helpful, but another says it doesn't make a difference. So I kind of put mushrooms in with other supplements in that, yeah, theoretically they're helpful. Are they actually going to make a notable difference? Probably not. But are they harmful to take? No. I mean, you can take them. Nothing bad's going to happen
Tastes like
to you.
dirt.
Yeah, I
If
mean,
you take tincture.
to your dirt shots every morning.
Yeah.
So, I think comparatively to other supplements, I would probably give medicinal mushrooms a little bit of an edge. There is
It's a vegetable. Not a vegetable. It's like, healthy. It's part of a healthy diet.
Yeah.
It's a fungi.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yes. I mean, the nutritional benefits. Sure. I actually like
Yeah.
mushrooms. I eat mushrooms pretty commonly.
Yeah.
So, if you go into like taking medicinal mushrooms with like, oh, this is going to cure my cancer, or suddenly my depression's going to go away, probably not. If you're taking it as just kind of a general, I'm doing everything possible to be as healthy as I can, could it
Yeah.
help you? Maybe.
Yeah.
So.
I think that's definitely the route that my friend was going whenever she was making
Right.
me those shots.
Yeah.
It was just like overall wellness.
I also wondered if, you always hear about those people microdosing like ketamine. I wonder if they're microdosing psilocybin. Is that a thing?
Yeah, that's what she was doing. That's why I was having all those weird dreams. I'm just kidding. Taking shots in the morning, not remembering where I am.
Yeah.
Real quick, y'all. Robert, he said, whatever. I don't know how to pronounce this word, but I think it's cordyceps.
Oh,
Something like that.
cordyceps?
Yeah, there you go.
Is that the
Oh, that's the
mushroom?
one. Trey,
Yeah.
we were talking about, I know you got your hands full there. We were talking about the zombie fungus. You remember that
Yeah.
one? Yeah.
He said that is the one that inspired
Is
The
it?
Last of Us. He
The
said, good
cordyceps,
job.
yeah.
Yeah, he said good job.
Yeah, I remember something from one of my own segments. Yeah, I get a gold star. All right, I'm going to recap this one real quick, Trey, and we'll finish up. So today we were talking about medicinal mushrooms. Is it real or is it hype? Well, mushrooms have been used for medicinal purposes for centuries. Ancient Chinese medicine has used it forever, and it's still pretty popular, more popular in the Eastern Hemisphere than the Western Hemisphere, but we are seeing it in the United States from time to time. And there are a lot of different varieties of mushrooms that we went over in our full segment that have different potential health benefits. And some of the more important ones are potential anti-cancer properties, anti-inflammatory, overall health to like nerves and gut and bone. And so with everything, I like to look at the research and say, is there research out there that shows that this is beneficial? Because you will see these claims that, oh, this is research proven to be helpful. Well, most of the research done on medicinal mushrooms, like other supplements, is either test tube or animal models. There's not a lot of great human data out there. There are a few more with medicinal mushrooms than other types of supplements, so I will give it kind of like a little bit of advantage there. But the data sort of conflicts. There was one study that actually showed some pretty promising results with anti-cancer treatments. So that was kind of interesting, but then there were other studies that showed it didn't make as big of a difference. So kind of my feeling with medicinal mushrooms is, yeah, I mean, theoretically they're helpful. There are some chemicals and properties in these mushrooms that have beneficial effects to our body with very minimal side effects. So I think it's totally okay to take them if you want, but I would definitely go into it with not having the idea that it's going to be some miracle cure, because there's not a lot of data to show that it makes a huge difference in our health. But is it worth taking? Maybe. Sarah took them. She said that, yeah, maybe it helped. Right, Sarah?
Yeah.
Maybe it helped. Yeah, I don't know.
I felt good.
I felt good. I felt like I was doing something, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that is all the time that we have for this week on Nip Talk. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a like, follow us, leave us a comment, let us know what you want to talk about on our next episode, and we will see you then.
Bye.